This video will give two examples of a Kantian deontological case study. For a deontology case study, the first question is there a duty? You can figure this out by using the categorical imperatives. The first categorical imperative asks, does the opposite duty logically self-destruct? If it does, then you've proven that there's a moral duty. The second categorical imperative asks, does the action in question entirely objectify someone? If it does, then you have a moral duty to not do it. If you do show that there is a moral duty using the categorical imperatives, the next step is to find out whether or not the person's intentions were good. In other words, did they do their moral duty because it's their moral duty, or did they have another reason? If their intentions are good, then their actions are good. The first scenario we'll look at involves lying. Your roommate is about to go on an important date. They come into the room, and just as they're about to leave, they ask you how their outfit looks. It's pretty bad. They've made some poor choices with regards to color combinations and style. But they don't have time to change, and you know that when your roommate is feeling confident, they are extremely charming and funny. Telling them that the outfit doesn't look good will shatter their confidence. Saying nothing will do the same. Should you lie and tell them that their outfit looks good? The first question is, which duty would be involved? In this case, it's pretty clearly a matter of lying. So we ask, is there a duty to never lie? Using the first categorical imperative, we try to find out, does the opposite logically self-destruct? Imagine that there was a duty to always lie. If that were the case, then everyone would always lie. So no one would ever believe anyone else. No one would expect anyone else to believe them. And so it would become impossible to lie. If you think about it, when you tell a lie or say something that's untrue, but you don't really expect anyone to believe you, then you can generally pass it off as a joke. And if people were totally confident that you weren't serious, then they'd never believe you in the first place, so it would just be impossible to lie. In other words, if you have a duty to always lie, then you can't lie. In other words, it self-destructs. As a result, according to the first categorical imperative, there is a moral duty to never lie. To be thorough, let's look at it now using the second categorical imperative. Does lying entirely objectify your roommate? In this case, you're trying to accomplish an end, which is your roommate's success. That may seem like a nice thing to do, but you're not giving your roommate the opportunity to rationally deal with the situation. You're hiding reality from them by lying. You're not making them aware of something that is true, in this case, that their outfit looks terrible. In other words, you are objectifying them. As a result, according to the second categorical imperative, there is a moral duty to never lie. That's not surprising. Immanuel Kant, who first came up with the idea of these categorical imperatives, believed that they would always point in the same direction. If you have a moral duty, it would be shown by either the first or the second categorical imperative. In conclusion, you have a moral duty to tell your roommate the truth. Good news, since you don't want to do that, you're only doing it because it's your moral duty. That's how you know that you have good intentions. Your intentions are to do your moral duty. The next scenario we'll look at involves theft. You are at the Stampede and you see someone walk out of the casino carrying an armload of poker chips. They've just won $1 million. Chips are falling everywhere and the person doesn't seem to care. Then she drops her car keys without noticing. So you scoop them up, find her very nice car, and drive it to Lethbridge where someone is willing to buy it for cash. Do you have a moral duty, according to deontology, to not steal that car? First, we have to determine which duty is involved. Is there a moral duty to never steal? According to the first categorical imperative, we have to look at whether or not the opposite would logically self-destruct. The opposite is to always steal. If everyone always stole things, then people would always steal from one another. People would always be stealing. I'd steal from you, you'd steal from me, I'd steal back from you. In summary, always stealing would actually just lead to more theft. There's not really any self-destruction. There could just be this big circle of theft where one person steals from another, someone else steals from them, someone else steals from them, and it would just keep on going around and around. People could keep on stealing. It would be a miserable state of affairs, but there's nothing logically impossible about it. As a result, it doesn't seem as though there is a duty to not steal, according to the first categorical imperative. Let's double check that result with the second categorical imperative. We're trying to figure out, is there a duty to not steal things? For the second categorical imperative, we have to ask, does stealing that car entirely objectify the gambler? The truth is, you've never really interacted with her. Is treating her possessions like objects objectifying her? Objects aren't rational, so they don't deserve moral consideration according to Kantian deontology. So it doesn't seem as though you're objectifying the person. In other words, according to the second categorical imperative, there doesn't seem to be a duty to not steal. To be clear, this doesn't mean that you have a duty to steal things, it's just that you don't have a moral duty to not steal things. That may seem a little bit strange to you, that Kantian deontology doesn't seem to say that you have a moral duty to not steal that car. But if you think about what deontology is about, that moral duties are absolute, always, for everyone, everywhere, in every circumstance, it's not really surprising that there's no duty not to steal, because sometimes we consider it good to steal. Imagine, for example, you were stealing medicine for a sick child. If you can think of any circumstances where stealing would be moral, then it can't be that there's a moral duty to not steal. Because again, for deontology, moral duties are absolute. As a result of this, there are very few moral duties according to deontology. The two that are most often mentioned are do not murder and do not lie. Kant was very specific that deontology was against murder and against lying in any circumstance. But something like theft doesn't seem to make the cut. In summary, when doing a deontological case study, the first step is to identify which duty you'll test. You use the categorical imperatives to determine if the duty is a moral duty. If it is, then determine whether that person's acting on the duty has good intentions. In other words, are they doing it because it's their duty, or are they doing it for another reason? Thank you for watching.